one in the AFC East. It is the Bills. It is the Dolphins in Miami. And it means Josh Allen is headed for a very good night, at least if history is the guide. He's 11-2 against Miami in his career. That's tied for the most wins by any player against any team since he came into the league in 2018. And in those games, he's been spectacular. He's thrown multiple touchdowns in all 13 of his games against the Dolphins, which is by far the longest streak in NFL history by any quarterback against any opponent. On the other side, Tua, not so much. He's 1-6 against Buffalo in his career as a starter. In those games, he has thrown 7 interceptions. He has thrown 6 touchdowns. So history points one way, but the future could go a different way. Let me quickly start, came out with the wrist. We saw Josh Allen, as he is prone to do it, he needs to stop doing it, diving headlong into the end zone.
You got to stop saying that, by the way.
I will never stop saying it because it makes sense.
Bro. No, you can't.
Gotta let him go.
Josh Allen needs to not, in the first game of the season,
listen to Greeny.
Diving into 3 people and getting turned upside down and
all right, we're gonna go to tonight. Stop.
We don't have to go to tonight. This is a play he cannot make week 1 of the season.
No, Greeny, you're right. Josh Allen should definitely slide here to make it 3rd and goal from the 5-yard line and only go up by a touchdown in the 4th quarter with 8 minutes to go.
That is beautiful.
They were down 14.
Look at the jump man,
They were down 14 points at home. It's the 4th quarter with 8 minutes to go. Yeah. It's 2nd and goal from the 6-yard line. They're up by 4. If he scores, it's blouses. If he doesn't and kick a field goal, it's a 1-possession game. The dude only does what's necessary to win games.
He just needs not to fumble early in the game so they don't go there.
That's fair.
That's the part. We do that, we're good.
I don't even like to say this out loud because I don't want to put it into the universe. But one of these days, that wrist is going to do something, and that touchdown you're talking about, that week 1 injury that your week 1 touchdown you're talking about, is going to turn into he's out for the season and their season is over. I'm just saying, the one criticism, I love Josh Allen. Yeah. The Bills Mafia adopted me last year for crying out loud as a fan of the Jets. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. I'm looking at a sensible person over here.
Okay.
Harry, tell everybody that I'm right. Tell everybody that Josh Allen, the one legitimate criticism of him is he puts his body in harm's way too often.
Greeny, that's what I'm not going to tell you. Right. I'm sorry. I love you, but I think in this world, people like people that are spontaneous.
There you go.
We don't like the plain Janes. Josh Allen go up overboard. Sometimes you got to go head first. Sometimes you got to go feet first. However you got to do it, Josh, do it for your team.
When's it okay for him to do it?
It's okay to do it when the season is on the line. It's okay to do it in critical moments. We could have gone against Arizona for crying out loud.
Okay, so Greeny, if he doesn't make that play and they lose, we're going to kill Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills on Monday, the day after the game, losing to the Arizona Cardinals.
I'm not sure who we is. I'm not going to kill him.
Everybody
is going to.
They shouldn't lose that game. This is why everybody in that locker room rides. Whenever I'm in there, they say, we ride for J17 because he will do the extraordinary. He will do whatever it takes to win games, and that is why we love him. You cannot, that's what makes him special, Greeny. Yeah. And you can't, if you're going to cut
How's his wrist, Kmart? I mean, that was really where I was supposed to begin this conversation.
Okay, fair.
So is his wrist healthy?
Okay, let me get...
The wrist that was wrapped in all kinds of ice and everything else. And I'm watching Joe Burrow going like this.
It's the left hand. Right. My man be throwing it like this. So he's been medically cleared. So that is the good thing for Bills Mafia. He's been medically cleared by team doctors. He is good to go, which is paramount for this Bills offense, unlike the Miami Dolphins who come into this game pretty banged up.
Okay, we'll talk about the injuries as we go. You've got tape here. The Bills, look, he did score create 4 touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 running, week 1. Yeah. You've got tape on just exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think number 1, tonight's game is high scoring. And number 2, it's a James Cook game for me just because the 2 tight ends that Buffalo has the chance to deploy. If you go back last week, Jacksonville versus Miami, Jacksonville put multiple tight ends on the field and ran the football. And Buffalo's capable of doing that now. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. I love the fact that they can get in 2 tight ends. They can pull either one of their big tackles that are big, physical, and they're going to try to run the football at the Miami Dolphins defense. Everyone this week was like, oh my gosh, if the Bills are going to be good, Josh is going to have to be MVP. I disagree. I think there's balance in this offense. They get in that 2 tight end personnel package again, motion. The reality, and J-Mac knows this, when you get into this and teams stay in that nickel defense, meaning 5 defensive backs, I give big bodies blocking little bodies. This is Jacksonville doing it last week to Miami. Miami stays in nickel defense. They're going to have a tight end and an offensive lineman blocking secondary players. As much as we make every game about quarterbacks, I think tonight is about Buffalo and the difference in their offense now in comparison to what it was at the beginning of last year, and it really is a James Cook game. I expect them to follow what Jacksonville did. 2 tight ends on the field, run the ball at Miami.
I have my eyes on a different player, and it's the wide receiver position. No pun intended, J-Mac, I'm sorry. But Khalil Shakir, someone who really stepped up the late part in the year last year in 2023. I thought he had a solid game in game 1 versus Arizona. 3 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. But the strength and the reliability that he provides Josh Allen, I think he's going to have a masterful in a huge year in 2024 because he's consistent and he does everything right. His college coach that coached him, Dirk Cutter, who's now the OC at Boise State, loves this young man. Told me a lot about him before the draft process in 2022. So I really like Khalil Shakir at the wide receiver position for Buffalo, not just in this game, but also throughout the season.
Cindy, put the picks on the screen just so we get them up there.
Yeah.
And how about the other side of this? Tua, we went through the struggles he has had against Buffalo. He needs to exercise some of those demons tonight.
Yeah, he does. And he said it this week. He talked about the fact that the only way to get it off you is you got to go and beat Buffalo. I look at this Buffalo defense, and they play a lot of 2 high safeties going against Tua with the thought of, you know what? They have Tyreek Hill. They have Jalen Waddle. We're not going to let them get down the field. There's no peace signs going down on us right now. And as you look at this, all 3 of his interceptions last year against the Buffalo Bills, it came on deep throws, him trying to force the ball down the field with guys over the top. This last one, Taylor Rapp, he's playing on a half field, and he's able to just break, and it's like pitch and catch for him right there. So I look at this game, for them to win, Tua Tagovailoa has to be patient, has to be body blows, being able to hand the ball off and trust whether it is Jeff Wilson, if Devon Achan's able to play, or even a rookie, Jalen Wright, possibly steps up.
It wasn't like this consistent dominance. 2, Buffalo's defense is basically completely different than it was last year. I think there's 5 or 6 new starters, basically a whole new secondary. And then Taron Johnson
is out.
Not playing, who's one of the best
loss.
nickels in football. If we're being real, Miami's offense should, in many ways, have their way with Buffalo's defense. That's why I think it's a high-scoring game.
Most offenses started slow last week around the league. All right, let me get you now to the story everyone is talking about. After their shocking loss to the Patriots, Joe Burrow and the Bengals go on the road against Patrick and the Chiefs. And throughout this game, and here's that moment that went viral where he's trying to pick up a Gatorade bottle, his surgically repaired wrist, he's shaking it all the time. Yesterday, he 100% said he feels fine, and it is fine. However, our Chris Canty on ESPN Radio, not buying it.
I am concerned about the version of Joe Burrow that we're going to see from now until the end of his career, because this wrist injury is something that we don't have a lot of history with quarterbacks being able to bounce back from in the NFL. We just haven't seen it. So I am not going to believe it until I see it. And that's why, sitting here today, I'm selling all the Bengals stock, and I'm selling all my Joe Burrow stock.
All my Joe Burrow stock.
All his Joe Burrow stock.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
You'll buy the stock.
I'll buy the stock from Chris.
Yeah.
On Joe Burrow?
Yeah.
100%, man. Joe Burrow last week, he looked way more like Joe Burrow did 2 years ago, week 1 against Pittsburgh. That would be my complaint. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't look settled. I don't think this is a massive issue. He's talked about all offseason, this is the best I've ever felt. This is the strongest, the biggest, the fastest that I've ever felt. He didn't play great last week, but this is way more looking like a quarterback that didn't have great pocket feel and not understanding like a feel of the game and the speed more so than, oh my gosh.
Jan, is it a concern? Because the other years he didn't always get through training camp. He was going through injuries. This year he's been in training camp. So is it more of a concern this year to see him come out in week 1 and struggle against a Patriots team that a lot of people were saying are going to be the 32nd pick of the NFL draft this upcoming year?
Yeah. Or 33rd, actually, the first and the 33rd. 32nd is the team that wins the Super Bowl, but I understand the point that you're making.
I think New England's defense is better than anticipated. My overall concern with Cincinnati is significantly more that their scheme is dead. Their offensive scheme is dead.
What does that mean?
The only way this scheme works is if you have 2 elite wide receivers, okay? Number 1, you're in shotgun all the time. Number 2, your tackles are in a 2-point stance all the time, meaning their hands not in the ground. The defensive ends, first down, are teeing off in 2-point stance. Guys, Joe's ready to throw. There's one person looking for the football. He's 2 yards downfield. Well, that's on first down, okay? So, all right, no one's there. We take a check down. Then we get to like 2nd and 6, 2nd or 7. We're in the shotgun again. Our tackles are standing up. Those defensive ends are in 2-point stance, J-Mac. They're not worried about the run. Joe's ready to throw. There's one person looking for the football. He's like 3 yards down the field. How are we going to generate any type of push the ball downfield offense? Joe's timing is completely off because he's ready. No one else is ready. Now we go to third down. Tackles are in 2-point stances. Everybody on the defense line is standing up because they're not worried about running the football. It's 3rd and freaking 1. They motion over. Joe's ready to throw. There's one person on the offense that is capable of catching a football right now. So this offense is dead in regards to you can't just line up and consistently live in the shotgun. I want everyone at home to really understand this. When the offensive tackles are in 2-point stance, meaning they don't have their hands in the ground, right?
Yeah.
A defensive end doesn't have to play space at all. They just line up like this and be like, here it comes, man.
Time to go.
You're not going to run the football at me. And offensive tackles have to brace rather than go.
Yeah.
So the tackles, in many ways, I feel like are giving away the plays of like, hey, we're more than likely throwing the ball here.
That's why I think they're going to miss a guy that's in Houston right now, Joe Mixon. And also the commitment to running the football. J-Mac, you talked about that this morning, right? Being able to consistently call the run game. And sometimes having Joe Burrow at quarterback is a detriment to the Cincinnati Bengals because you're thinking, you know what, Joe's gonna make it right, no matter what the circumstances are.
With two elite receivers.
Exactly.
But we're talking about a Joe Burrow that we're saying is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but we're also saying their offense that they went to a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. It absolutely needs 2 elite wide receivers.
But J-Mac, that year they went to the Super Bowl with that offense, they did way more scheme-wise. They would 100% go under center, move the pocket, a little bit more play action, try to create explosive plays. Right now, this is catch and hopefully nothing bad happens.
Let me get Kmart in. Let's go circle it all the way back. I mean, Burrow says he's healthy. He's completely
He essentially gave the Aaron Rodgers spiel of, hey, relax, everybody. It is week 1. Think about how no T. Higgins. Think about how Jamar Chase missed most of camp because of that contract situation. He just returned to practice that week. Think about how Joe Burrow has missed the offseason because of COVID, the appendectomy, the calf injury. They consistently start the season slow. They're 1-8 in weeks 1 and 2 in his career. And I think they were 0-2 the year they went to the Super Bowl. This is not a team that gets rattled, and I think that's good. You don't want your quarterback to be worried about a week 1 loss.